Joseph will be next, and though he could speak in Arabic if he wanted to, he will speak in English.
Thank you, Samuel, and thanks for the invitation. I think the quality and scope of the e-book, which Lorenzo so masterfully edited, is a tribute to FPRI, which you're all rightly familiar with, as well as the Al-Mesbar Centre for Study and Research, its co-sponsor, which is less well known among Middle East specialists in Washington today. So I'm here to share a little bit of information about Al-Mesbar, the nature of the group and what it does, and perhaps to start a conversation as well about how this very unusual center might be a valuable resource in advancing American interests in the Arab world today. There is a community of decision makers in most Middle Eastern countries who are looking at the post-revolutionary states in the Arab world and share a particular concern about its political direction. They feel that the process now underway in Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, and beyond is not democratization, but rather a move in the opposite direction toward a new and fiercer form of authoritarianism. This is a community of people who believe that sustainable democracy demands civil society, rights for minorities, gender equality, security sector reform, always a special challenge in the Arab world and elsewhere, and the rule of law. And their feeling is that the movement among these the new governments today is not one of progress in this direction, but rather one of regression. Now, the members of the Al-Mesbar Centre reached this conviction through sweat and tears. The person who runs the organization from day to day, al-Nogaidan, has emerged as one of the fiercest critics of what we call in this city Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia in the Arab world today. He came to this position honestly, having been a militant himself in his youth, and underwent a profound transformation, and over the past 15 years began to deliver stinging and fearless critiques of these clerical communities, and has pressed very hard the Saudi establishment to reevaluate its relationship with these groups. Mansour is a celebrity in the Arab world. Now, the founder and chief backer of the Al-Mesbar Centre is Turki al-Dakhil, who is the Larry King of the Middle East. He hosts one of the most popular primetime talk shows in the region called Ida'at, or Spotlights, on Al Arabiya, which is the second most popular television network in the Arab world today. Spotlights to tens of millions of viewers, grants Arab and Muslim reformists a platform to make their case to the Al Arabiya audience, and poses as well a challenge to extremist groups and leaders whom he also hosts on the program. And I think that he runs these shows and conducts the interviews with a kind of subtlety and intimacy that you really find among the Saudi intellectuals who know these movements from the inside. 6 years ago, Turki al-Dakhil decided that he wanted to build a first-rate team of Arab academics and researchers who would study political Islam and all political movements across the region. Several hundred books later, the Al-Mesbar Centre is a fixture in the bookshelves of foreign offices and interior ministries and intelligence services in nearly every Arab country. The fact that Turki al-Dakhil, Mansour al-Nogaidan, and the Al-Mesbar Centre are barely known in Washington, and I would dare say from my own experience that it's very hard to find a think tank that has the Al-Mesbar Centre's publications in its library, is indicative of the dangerous gap between Mideast specialists in this country and the region they study. It is, for starters, a language gap. This is a problem that is, regrettably, after September 11, has not been resolved. And far too many Mideast specialists are not in a position to read books that are published by the likes of the Al-Mesbar Centre in Arabic. But it is also a gap in human relations, in that our embassies today are in many ways garrisons, quite cut off from the streets and societies in the Arab world in which they are based. And some researchers rely on embassy staff to introduce them to contacts on the ground. And by contrast, the Al-Mesbar Centre staff do read English, and they study the books and monographs that are published here. And they have adopted the view that in many cases, these studies tend to channel the perspectives of individuals and movements that have established networks and a base in this country, and have a great deal of influence on perceptions. Now, they do, to be sure, offer valuable insights on the Arab region, but they do not necessarily represent a cross-section of public opinion, establishment views, and some opposition groups as well. So we're putting it to you today that the Al-Mesbar Centre can be helpful in balancing this imbalance, and that there should be more cooperation like the type that FBRI has established in publishing this e-book with Al-Mesbar. It's worthwhile to look into it and to establish contact with the group and see how organizations in this town can benefit from what they do. With that, I will turn you to Samuel.